What's up, guys? It's John, and let's talk Super Bowl one last time. I say one last time because we won't be covering football again until next year. And I did do a video not that long ago going into just what I see for next year. But with the NBA obviously going down the stretch, I didn't love any of tomorrow's games. I like the Bulls to cover. I like the over on the Nuggets game. A couple metric plays, but as far as matchups, I thought a lot of the lines looked normal. I wanted to go into this because it does tie into the NBA. It's very interesting, and some of you guys might know where I'm going to be heading with this. But as far as Mahomes, the talk that I've been seeing and why I wanted to cover it now is because I feel like now it's obvious to some, and in a few months it's going to be obvious to everybody, especially by the time the season rolls around. The Chiefs are currently getting plus 700 to win the Super Bowl, and they got the Niners as the odds-on favorite now. Of course, the odds-on favorites don't always go. But in my last video, I went into why the Chiefs are going to repeat. And they're going to go for a third time. And at that time, it was because they were planting seeds on if Mahomes is the new Jordan. Not Brady, but Jordan. It shifted to Jordan. And, Mahomes here. So, made me wonder, okay, they're planting those seeds. And then sure enough, like no, like the last week after I've done my video, and so again, I guess it just means we're over the target. That's all they did was call Mahomes the Jordan. He's the only Jordan's done this early in his career. All these different things. Now, what makes this really interesting is I follow wrestling, and I swear wrestling ties into football. I don't know how they do it, but they find a way to basically give away, like the tribal chief won 3 WrestleManias in a row, won the belt at 3 WrestleMania. He won and he kept it the last 2 WrestleManias, stuff like that. And they even had Taylor Swift. I don't know if you guys saw this. She was doing the bloodline sign, where you put your one finger up in the air. So even WWE made a joke of it and memed her into the group, and basically said, welcome to the bloodline, something like that. So what it means for me is wrestling knows to an extent. And what I found very interesting was The Rock's promo. If you guys did not see The Rock's promo, he came out and called Cody Rhodes a loser. Now, again, Roman Reigns called Cody irrelevant. He said, just like your dad. And again, there's a lot of dads, if you think about the Niners and their dads, a lot of dads that played for the squads. And it was just interesting. He could have called him anything. And we had gone into how, again, Roman's like the tribal chief. He has to know that. And he comes out and, says you're irrelevant. So we got Mr. Irrelevant Cody Rhodes fighting Reigns. This is going to be the second year in a row. He won the Rumble. He's going to be going back and fighting him. Now, The Rock said something that I found to be very interesting. For the non-wrestling fans, winning the Royal Rumble is the equivalent of winning the AFC or NFC Championship. I brought it up in a wrestling video, actually. When you win that, you punch your ticket to WrestleMania, and you fight the champion. So Cody did that last year and did not win. This year he won again, so he has the opportunity to fight Roman Reigns for a back-to-back. Just like the Chiefs and Mr. Irrelevant Brock could go back-to-back. First time, it'd be the first time ever for reigning champions, and it'd be the first time in, 20-something years, 30-something years, back when the Cowboys and Bills did it. So anyway, Rock comes out and, in typical Versace vest, great, sunglasses, old school Rock, and he says something to the extent of, this is the stupidest logic ever. Cody lost last year. He got his ass kicked by Roman Reigns, by the tribal chief, however he reworded it. And now he wants a rematch. He's like, let's put that logic to sports. The Niners just got their asses kicked by the Chiefs, and are they asking for a rematch? No. They manned up, they went home, and this and that. And at the time, I didn't really, I had football in the mind, but then he went on to say, the Jazz, because he was in Utah. He said, what about the Jazz? He said they're their dream, the dream team. They got all the way to the end, and they got rolled by Michael Jordan. He's like, did they ask for a rematch? No. They just worked their ass off and got right back there. Now, he left out the next part, which is an interesting part, which is where Jordan beat them again, for the 2 of the three-peat, or maybe for the three-peat, can't quite remember. But he beat the Jazz twice in a row. And Rock used both the Niners and the Jazz as an example, which brings me back to the main point. It seems like they're really pushing Mahomes as the next Jordan. So here we have the Chiefs and Jordan kind of compared by The Rock. Again, The Rock has a lot of pull. He probably knows the winners of these Super Bowls long in advance. So it made me think. I said this in my last video, and I will double down. I cannot see a team getting me off. Last year I said, coming into the year, love the Niners to go to the Super Bowl. Not sure about the AFC. By week 5, we determined Niners, Chiefs made the most sense. And this year, going into the season, I can say, on both sides, I just can't see any squad outside of Kansas City and the Niners, and then the back pocket pick, the hedge, whatever you want to call it, because of the story. Because the one thing I wonder is, do they want to get Mahomes as many notches on the belt as possible, and by doing that, have him beat the Lions? And also give people a team that they can really get behind instead of kind of a stale team. I personally like the Niners. My point being, I'm not as open to as last year to one conference or the other. I think it's Chiefs, or there's no way it's not the Chiefs, so it's just the other side to work out. And the only team I could see it being that's not the Niners would be the Lions. I've eliminated the Cowboys, I've eliminated the Eagles. Just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people might disagree, but that's just how I see it. So anyway, I thought it was interesting The Rock brought that up. Again, first, just bringing up the Chiefs, which just happened. Maybe a little clue in, because Cody's going to be fighting Roman again the second year in a row. And then he gets the Jazz in there. And again, it just brings me back to Mahomes and Jordan. They need to do something with Mahomes to establish him. And they can't give him 7 rings in 3 years, right? Like, he'd have to play another 5 years just to beat Brady. And not that he can't do it, but you also want to keep the people that are watching engaged. So it's like Roman Reigns. They can't have him beat Ric Flair's record, right? They're probably not even going to have him beat Bruno's. But they can have him just shatter the record. So now when everyone thinks of Roman Reigns in WWE, it's all, boy, this guy held the belt forever. That's just never been done. And that's WWE's way of getting a guy over, because they can't have him win and lose the belt 16 times. That would not work. I'm surprised a 4-year title reign is working, but to their credit, they made it work. My point being, in the NFL, it's the same deal, but they just do it in a different way. So how do you get Mahomes over? You run up his stats over the first couple of years of his career, and then you get him to points where Brady never got. So he has a 3-peat by 30 or whatever it'd be, and then Brady, he always just got the 2-peat. So I feel like it's a foregone conclusion we're getting Mahomes. And after seeing The Rock's promo, and just again the back-to-back idea with Cody, they're really pushing that. I think the NFL is going to follow suit, and I think they're going to get behind Purdy. This could age terribly, because you watch the experts, quote experts, any of these guys, and they'll have you believe that Purdy is definitely fair game to be replaced by next year. He might be part of the problem even, and I feel like they're going to get behind him. I think he's their franchise guy, and again, Mr. Irrelevant. It's kind of weird if he goes back to the Super Bowl. I get it, but again, I think we're going to get like a Jazz type deal where we're going to get Chiefs Niners. Chiefs beat them, and you look at the score. I'm not much into the symbolism and the gematria, but 22-23, Chiefs won. 23-24, Chiefs won. 24-25 seems like it's giving it away. So you've probably seen all the 3 X's. I just saw another one. It was like 3-time Chiefs Super Bowl winner, or 3-time Super Bowl champion, arrested, I think it was. Then there was another one with a 3-time Super Bowl champion. I went into it in my Chiefs Kansas City shooting video. 3 gunmen took down 22 people. So you got the Mason number. So it's all very interesting. But at the end of the day, I just really feel like we're going to get a repeat. There's no way the Chiefs aren't going to run it back again, especially, in my opinion, with the Jordan comparisons that they're trying to make. And it only leaves the rematch, which, again, they're really the only team, the Chiefs, where they can go up against this team. They could stack them up even more and make it more crazy next year. Or, like I said, if it's not them, it has to be Detroit. There's like no other team I would settle for. The reason I'm leaning Detroit, and you're probably going to have a lot of people coming out and just claiming Detroit now. And again, we called Detroit last year. We said they were going to come out of nowhere. is if you go to the ESPN comments, you will see like it's like who do you want to see in the Super Bowl, and it's like everybody, every other person is saying Detroit, and you do give the fans what they want sometimes. And again, they're catering to a new audience. I've went into this before. They have Patrick Starr roasting NFL players, on a game that's network is ran by the people who created Mickey Mouse. So you can see that they're not really catering to the adults anymore. There is so much behind Taylor Swift. It's like a shame that I know these things because I guess because I cover the Chiefs and football, I'm always recommended stupid Taylor Swift stuff. Like, oh, they found Taylor Swift having dinner with this person, or Taylor Swift was doing this. And that's all people want to see, like, it is Taylor Swift. So, again, they're going to run this all the way into next year. They might have some ups and downs, both Kelsey and Swift and the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be the same result. And I just wanted to go into that promo. I thought the promo was very interesting, and in my opinion, very revealing. Where, again, Rocky said it. It's going to be the Chiefs again, the three-peat. Again, Mahomes will follow exactly what Roman Reigns just did, because this will be his fourth WrestleMania. He's won the last three, and on the other end, I think it's going to be a rematch because that would be a really interesting story. And yeah, if you don't like this matchup, playing them both, you're still going to do great odds. So Chiefs Niners, Chiefs Lions, if you pick those exact matchups, you're going to do very well. Definitely worth it. Or you just go Chiefs Niners and we hedge down the road. But both of them are great. Again, the one distinction the Lions have is they are a fresher team. So a lot of America would be rooting for them against the villains, the obvious villains, the Chiefs. Even though they're trying to make the Chiefs heroes now, if you notice, with the whole shooting deal. So we'll have to see what they do there. But the Lions are the only one who would make sense outside of the Niners. I can't buy the Eagles. I can't buy the Cowboys, especially with the lack of change in Dallas. I can't buy a team like the Bucs or the Packers. They're not going to do that. It would be the Lions if anybody. But I'm going to go with Niners, Chiefs. I think that's what we're going to get. Obviously, we'll assess as the season goes along. And I really feel like we're going to get a very similar Final Four even to last year, except I think the Ravens might get a hard boot. I really do. I think they gave Lamar a great year. They might get a hard boot, and they might give us a swerve. Maybe they give the Jets a run or something. Or the Dolphins, we'll have to see. But I think the Dolphins are kind of like the Eagles, where they're just going to be red herrings for a bit. Notice I haven't really mentioned the Bills. I don't think they're doing much. So yeah, just wanted to go into the promo, the Swift. The fact that they are catering to children now, they don't care. They want the children to root for Swift and Mahomes and get behind whoever they want them to get behind. I don't think they care at all about what, at this point, what the fan of yesterday thinks. So just wanted to go into the promo because it was really interesting that the way The Rock cut the promo and the fact that, again, he brought up two things that the talking heads just keep talking about, which is Michael Jordan and Mahomes. And, I get it was in Utah is probably the only reason he used that example, but just a very interesting one where that was the only other, again, it was a rematch and three-peat at the same time, and that's what we're looking at right now, somewhat, what was that, 96 or some, almost 20 years later, almost 30 years later, so it's pretty crazy, but 27, 28 years apart. So we'll have to see what happens as far as what they do on the NFC side. I can't imagine it's not the Chiefs, and like I said, the Niners is what I think makes the most sense. But if we do get Chiefs Lions, I wouldn't be shocked. I see those seeds being planted, and it would be weird for them to take a big step backwards. So we'll do our official who's got team wins and stuff like that. We did it last year. The Lions were literally the only team I put out a video for. Like, I put out videos for the Ravens and for our Super Bowl teams, but I didn't do an assessment of every team, like the Dolphins, the Bills, all those different teams, the Cowboys. I really just covered the Niners, Chiefs, and Ravens all year long. But the Lions, I did put out 2 or 3 videos before the season started saying, okay, Vegas likes this team. They're probably going to the NFC Championship. So I feel like we're definitely ahead of the target on the Lions. So I don't want to lose them, in the whole landscape of everything, because they could certainly be that team. But yeah, I feel like it's good if we have, in my opinion, the Super Bowl narrowed down to, in my opinion, 3 teams at the most that make any sense, which is the Chiefs. No other team makes sense out of the AFC. So that knocks that out. And then we got in my opinion, a 90-10 split where maybe 80-20 split, where I'm really convinced it's going to be the Niners. But if any team were to usurp them, it would have to be Detroit. Any other result next year would be a little surprising to me, to be honest. And considering how good we did this year, you can take with that what you will. So yeah, just a little more numbers and sound bites and just interesting quotes. Again, this coming from WWE, making me think we're going to get, again, definitely the Chiefs repeat, follow Jordan's footsteps. And there's a good chance in the middle of that we get the back-to-back with Mr. Irrelevant kind of taking the place of Cody Rhodes and the Chiefs being. And again, it's crazy because they have Taylor Swift, the Hollywood megastar, and the Bloodline just added The Rock. So it's like, it can't be a coincidence. Like, one is copying the other. And again, I think they more so work together than anything else. So we're going to go into that. All my videos going forward are going to be NBA dedicated. I will be covering other stuff too, tennis, golf, all that stuff, but mostly basketball. And I can say we have an interesting story in the East. I can only see two possible results. As you guys know, I've been on the Celtics all year. That's not changing. I still think they make sense. In the year of Kobe, Tatum's their guy. But you obviously have like the Bucks. You got the Lakers. You got some stories going on in the middle of everything that make a lot of sense too. So I'm going to go into that. How I think all the teams that I think will make the playoffs are going to fare, and it's not too different from before. I went into it before. Celtics make the most sense on the West. I'm a little more open, looking at the Mavs. Lakers make some sense. I don't think Thunder yet, but I got my eye on them. Then I have the ones I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't care how good their record is. I don't see the T-Wolves doing it. Nuggets could do it. Get them back there, try and do it across the sports where you have teams returning. But Boston, Dallas has been my pick for a bit now. Beginning of the year, actually, Boston, and then I had Lakers or Dallas. And then when the Lakers won the in-season tournament, I really fell off the Lakers. So I don't think they're going to be winning both. So really liking Boston and Dallas. But to win the whole thing, I think Boston makes the most sense. But there's some very interesting stories, as you probably know, with all the stuff going on in Milwaukee. And on the Western side, you got obviously anytime LeBron is there, it's a story. The Suns, all these different teams. So we'll be doing a in-depth breakdown of the NBA. And obviously, as the playoffs come closer, it'll be fun. We'll do some live videos if you guys want to cover some NBA stuff. And hopefully we didn't do great last year. But as far as just picking the playoffs, we did good. We didn't say these two teams are going to go all the way, and they did. But the Sixers did well, went further than we thought, and even on individual games, because again, it's series. So, a 7-game series, we did really well. We called the Knicks upset. We called the Heat upset in the Bucks. We even had the Heat beating the Celtics once the Sixers got booted. So we did a good job. Obviously, we didn't get the winner right. We had the Heat beating the Nuggets. So we'll see what happens. This year, I think we're going to be way more over the target as far as matchups. Just like the NFL, we were like way more over the target. We had basically every round of the matchups nailed except like a game or two. I feel like we're going to do the same in the NBA. And I have no doubt that you watch the All-Star game, and I think that's why they're being so hard on the All-Star game, because that's basically how these guys play. And I think your Stephen A. Smiths and all these people that were upset basically saw like, oh my gosh, these guys are making it so obvious. Even though it's an All-Star game, people already think it's scripted. Now they're going to be looking for this in regular games. I think that's the reason they came down on them so hard. Like, even though they do this every single year for that ridiculous All-Star game where they, again, all these talking heads suddenly care about defense in an All-Star game. I think it was more to set a precedent. Like, this is the All-Star game. Almost, again, like I said, concessions being made. NFL's doing it with mic'd up. They're showing like mic'd up and these little things that they do and how the referees know the plays. And they're kind of making these concessions like, yeah, it's a competition, but it's entertainment too. So I feel like they're going to just slowly, over the course of like a year or two, start on normalizing all these, in my opinion, scripted plays and making it seem more like, well, it's always been that way. It's never been a complete competition with guys trying to hurt each other. So we'll have to see where it goes. But we're seeing it in the NBA. Again, the huge crackdown on the All-Star game, guys. And we're seeing it in the NFL as far as just everyday people saying it's scripted. So I don't think they're going to do too much to change it. But I think they're basically going to slowly start admitting that they want to make these games as entertaining as possible. So yeah, that's basically all I got. It's nothing too much. It's like last year. I mean, when there's not much of an update. And I figured this is going to be our last football video until next year, or not next year, but later this year for sure, when the season starts, before we get preseason. So I figured I'd knock that out, and then we can start reassessing the NBA year, seeing who looks better than we thought, who looks worse than we thought, and if there's any last-minute audibles. I don't think there will be. Again, I think the Celtics make the most sense, but we'll be going into all that. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that the rematch makes sense, if The Rock was onto something. Or if you think, nah, it's got to be a different team. It's got to be the Lions. Or if you think I'm off on, it's got to be someone else. Maybe I'm missing somebody. Maybe I'm being naive by assuming they're going to give us Mahomes and they might not swerve us. But that I'm locked in on. I really think they're going for the three-peat, which in my opinion just leaves the other side. And yeah, if you think it's going to be some dark horse, Saints maybe. I know it's in New Orleans or something like that. Let me know why. I'm curious, but I think we're going to be very over the target this year. It just seems like, again, they're catering the game to children, which will make it a lot easier to see the swerves, or lack of, I should say. So yeah, I thought that was just an interesting promo by The Rock. If you didn't see it, you can watch it. But basically, like I said, he goes into the sports aspect of Cody challenging Roman again for the belt. So it just seemed like an interesting time to cut the promo. So take care and happy earnings.